Hello and welcome to the Villa Park podcast. It's me, Rich, and I'm back with your favourite football data analyst, Gareth, for a Talking Tactics transfer special. We've been waiting a few weeks to do this, Gareth, but now we're here, and it's been a busy summer so far for Aston Villa. First of all, how are you doing? And yeah, your thoughts on this transfer window so far for Villa?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Yeah, it's been a while. I think we just wanted to wait, didn't we, really, to see sort of not the culmination of business, but, the majority of business, let's say, before we sort of get down to brass tacks, as it were. But yeah, I think it's been all right. I mean, I think everybody knows my opinion on Ross Barkley and everything else. And I think, I've sort of mellowed on that a little bit. I can see more of why, after seeing the pre-season games, I can kind of see what they're trying to do. But yeah, it's been quite busy, and I think we should be more than happy with the business so far anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess the big signing so far, I mean, we've had a couple of pretty decent signings, pretty glamour signings, that have I guess with that kind of consumed by the football that some of the signings that we've made, like Matson and Barkley even have kind of just been swallowed up and forgotten about. However, we will touch on those a little bit. We did do a little bit of focus on those a few weeks back. But the big signing last week, and big in stature and in terms of the transfer, was one Amadou Onana. Make sure to get his name right. 6'5", 22 years of age, Belgian international, 50 million deal from Everton. Before we get all the data on him and your kind of assessment in terms of how he's going to fit into Aston Villa's team, just what do you think of that signing, first of all?
Yeah, I think it's a good signing. I don't think there's anything, it's very good. I mean, to get him from Everton, I think is the best deal for him. I think he's got to come to a bigger club. I think he deserves that. I do wonder where he'll fit in. I think he'll play in more sort of, like I said, I think online, I think he'll play in a pivot with Kamara, if at all. I think he's not, people were saying he's a Douglas Luiz replacement. We could say that about 3 players now, couldn't we? So it's not really true. It's a squad replacement. And I think, yeah, it just depends where he fits in. But at 50 million quid, I think he's a good lad, and we've all seen that. We know what he's like. And yeah, as you say, Belgian international, I think 50 million quid's a good deal.
Yeah, I do. And I think not only are you paying for someone who has Premier League and international experience, the age profile that we've seen now that Emery likes, this 21, 22, 23-year-old that is a little bit maybe rough around the edges, that can be refined by coaching, but has a base level of experience and talent. He's probably a little bit higher of a bar than, say, some of the others as well. And he fits a physical profile that kind of looks like Unai Emery is trying to strengthen.
I think, yeah, and I think that was one of the key takeaways for me was he's a big lad, and we were suffering at set pieces. We didn't score enough, and we conceded far too many. And I think that's a big thing. I really do. I think that's one of the main aspects that they have probably looked at. Of course, he's got to have ability on the ball, but I think that height is a massive thing.
Yeah, 100%. So let's take a look. You teased us yesterday before the show with some information about Amadou Onana. So what do you think are the key takeaways here in terms of, I guess, his strengths, first of all, and then some of the things that Unai Emery might want to bring out of him?
Yeah, I think playing him as an attacking midfielder would be a mistake. I don't think he's an attacking midfielder at all. I think he is, as I stated, more a box-to-box central midfielder, and that's where I think if we are to continue with the 4-4-2, although we haven't seen that in training, we've seen in pre-season, we've seen both the 4-5-1s into a 4-3-3 in possession. So we might be looking at a bit of a change in shape. In that case, I'm not quite sure where he might fit in that. But I think he will play instead of Kamara. I don't think Kamara will be fit until sort of, maybe November time. So
Yeah.
I think he will be needed. I don't think he's a DM. I think he is more of a sort of, like I say, a box-to-box midfielder. And I think a lot of the stats sort of back that up, really. He doesn't score a lot of goals. He's not creative in his passing so much, but he can carry the ball really well. He can be a goal threat if he's in the positions, but defensively he's really sound. And I think picking up that ball and being able to carry the ball out from that position is really good. So more like a give and go from Kamara to Onana, let's get us up the pitch a little bit more. I think it'd be interesting to see where he plays, but like I say, he's not an attacking midfielder for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And I was speaking to Mike from Blue Boys Network, big Everton fan channel, and he said, he has got all those attributes to be a fantastic player. And like you said, ball recoveries, tackles, won. He has got quite a good long ball on him, but sometimes tries that a little bit too often. But yeah, I guess where maybe Unai Emery will want him to show a little bit more improvement is, yes, not necessarily being a goal scorer in that essence, but certainly to utilize that height and physical presence to maybe give us more threat in the box, and obviously help out in the defensive end as well, which we know he can do, but you want to kind of translate that as an attacking force as well. So I think you're probably looking for him to improve in that area too.
Yeah, like I say, it depends if it's in a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2. It doesn't really matter in that aspect because he's going to be one of the two central midfielders.
Yeah,
he's not going to play out wide, and he's not going to play as a number 10. So therefore, I would imagine he will be a central midfielder. Don't forget, we've got a lot of football to be played this year. So will you prefer him in the Premier League or will you prefer him in the Champions League? Will
that's
you prefer
very
him in
true.
both? It all really depends on what you want. And with Baron Chanaya coming in as well, that's another different profile.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we'll take a little look at him as well in a bit, because I think Villa fans have been very pleasantly surprised by Enzo as well. So, quick look at the radar with regards to Amadou Onana. Now, again, what are we sort of picking out here, Gareth, in terms of,
Yeah.
again, strengths and
Yeah, I
weaknesses?
mean, if you're looking at the sort of the bottom left-hand quarter of the radar, that's what you're going to be looking at if you're looking for a total defensive midfielder, if you like. If those defensive stats are quite high, that's what you're going to be looking at. If you're going to be looking at the top right and more to the right-hand side, you're looking at a goal threat with a progressive sort of passing nature in him and able to get forward. So we're kind of looking at more of a defensive midfielder, and the percentile bar chart backs that up, which we've seen. It says that his defensive qualities are a lot better than his attacking ones, and therefore that's what I mean. That's where we're looking at sort of that sort of profile of player, a more defensive not a defensive midfielder, but a central midfielder in essence. Can Unai Emery add a bit more of an attacking threat into his game? I understand what you're saying about set pieces, but I think we lacked that sort of goal threat from central midfield in open play.
Yeah. But I mean, me and probably countless other Aston Villa fans over the years have been saying we need a good quality that could develop into top quality, physical presence, tall, rangy, can cover distance in that midfield to stop us from getting dominated. And you'd hope that Amadou Onana is that player. So I think
Yeah.
we can be excited for his signing.
Yeah, I do think he wanted Douglas Luiz to be that person, but I don't think that Douglas Luiz had that athleticism to be that sort of aggressive boxer. You're looking at a Frank Lampard type of player, a central midfielder who can make late runs into the box. And let's be honest, that wasn't Dougie. He preferred to stay outside and just sort of pass it into the net, if you like. I think we just need that more of a box-to-box midfielder, which we've got.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've seen another player who impressed very much so last season in the Championship, Jadon Philogene, and it was a bit of a back and forth, really. It was, is he going to come? Is it our Villa interested? Is he interested in coming to Aston Villa? And then it transpired about this clause that we had in there, that we knew we had the matching clause, and I couldn't really see the benefit of it. But then it was transpired that we had this 30% discount on it, almost with Hull City, and the kind of terms and whatever had been agreed last season if Unai Emery wanted him and he'd come in. So it once those kind of details came through, it was almost like, well, this was almost a done deal. Now, what are your thoughts on Philogene Bidace coming in? He obviously impressed last season. Are you going to see him feature more for the first team? Apparently, he's had these assurances that he is from Unai Emery. So, what are your thoughts on it, Gareth?
Yeah, I mean, one of your comments was that, there was a 30% sort of discount on it. And I think, to be honest, I think he was always going to come back. I think if he impressed, and that's what a lot of, you see managers who are quite clever that will do that will let you go to another club, whether that be on loan or whether that be to another club and say, well, we're going to have a buyback clause if we want to exercise that. And I think that's what's happened. I think he's basically said, Jayden, go away, go for a year. We'll let you go. If you impress, then we've obviously got first option on you and we will take you back. If you impress, he did the business, didn't he? No
He did.
questions asked. And I don't think, you can see that improvement as a player, even though we didn't see much of him at Villa, to go then from Villa to go and play in the Championship for as much as he did. He played nearly every game, by the way. Fantastic to do that and then be able to progress. I think he was always going to come back to the club. I think he was always going to choose the club.
Yeah. And again, you see that player, 21, 22 years of age, gone into the Championship, proved himself in a tough league, against experienced players. Like you said, played consistently nearly every game. So he's got that durability. Could we be seeing another Morgan Rogers type turnaround here? And let's see. And we've seen how Morgan Rogers has produced in this pre-season so far, getting a lot of Villa fans excited. Surprise package for the Premier League as well. So let's take a look at Philogene stats in terms of his bar chart. So looking at that and with all that in mind, what can we be excited about for him in this first team next season?
Yeah, I mean, this is all data from FBref, and it's all sort of like they compare their Championship players to the next 14 competitions, which is a variation of competitions. But this is really good. I mean, I think he played, I think I've got written down there, 32 appearances and 31.190. So he played, he didn't play every game, but he played the majority of the games in the Championship. And Holcomb fairly gave it a bit of a run at the end, didn't they, towards the playoff with his help. So, but yeah, again, to come back like this and sort of these attacking sort of, metrics that are quite high, his expected threats high, he can dribble the ball really well, gets shots off, spends a lot of time inside the box, taking defenders back into the box as well. But what I like to see is this defensive work as well. Really good. And I think that is a big thing of what Unai Emery and Monty would have looked at, was that, look, this guy can defend as well. He's putting in the defensive yards as well. If we can play him on the left or the right, we know he's going to cover us off. So, yeah, a big part of it, really.
Yeah, and I always think with that defensive work, going into the Championship, the physical nature of it, and if players can handle it, particularly wide players, particularly young attacking players, then you're almost primed for the Premier League, because you can mix it with players at the lower league level, and you know what it's all about. Like it is, I know it's a bit of an old school thing, but it's proper, man's football, if you know what I mean. And that they will have been impressed with that, and he will obviously go into the Premier League, and also the fact that he can still be effective and have attacking prowess, score goals, assists under all that pressure as well. So that bodes well. And I think where we've certainly towards the end of the season struggled was having players to come off the bench to freshen it up, or to change a game, or to do something different. In the end, Leon Bailey was having to start on one leg. It was the Diaby Bailey kind of transition couldn't work because they both had to be playing at the end. Whereas now you're looking at the bench potentially and having those players, like if Philogene starts, or if Bailey comes off the bench, or vice versa, or Morgan Rogers starts, or Ramsey comes on, or someone else. You've got all these kind of game changers, and Philogene probably falls into that bracket.
Yeah, I mean, we're in 4 competitions, aren't we now, again, this year? So you're talking a lot of games. And I think, when it comes to Philogene, I thought he was, correct me if I'm wrong, but he played well in pre-season, the previous season, before he
did,
went,
yeah.
didn't he?
Yeah, he
And
did.
I think that was enough. I think that was enough for them to see, look, he's got something, this kid. And I think there would have been conversations with, look, like I've spoken, we'll let you go or whatever, but we will exercise that right. If you can perform for us, go away and prove us wrong. And this happened countless times with different clubs, with loans and everything. And I think he's done exactly that. And like you say, to have someone like him off the bench, if he can perform well in pre-season and start to kick on a little bit more, we're going to have a lot going on.
Yeah, and you're looking at that strength, dribbling, finishing. You've said the defensive contribution, you've said the tackling. So both in both aspects of the game, he can do it.
Yeah, and I mean, just look at that top left-hand side, attacking third tackles. You know, so he's putting pressure on opponents and making tackles in the final third. This is like I said, the next 14. This is just for Hull in the championship. So out of all those attacking midfielders, you know, he ranks quite highly there as well. So the dribbling, he can finish as well. Look at the systems he's played in: the 4-2-3-1, the 4-4-2, the 4-4-1-1. All systems that Villa like to play. So again, that's taken into account that he can play, and we know he can play in them systems. He's not used to just being a wing back all the time where we might struggle to fit him in. No, he's played in them systems, and I think that's really useful as well.
Yeah, perfect. Now, did mention him earlier in the show, Enzo Baranachea. I think that's the correct pronunciation, from Juventus, and it came not out of the blue as such, but it was Weston McKennie was the name that was being talked about along with Samuel Illing Jr., and then couldn't agree with the terms with him. So Enzo came along, but bit of an unknown quantity. Again, fitted the age and the player profile that Unai Emery likes, but it's only been 2 early preseason games, Walsall and Spartak Trnava, but I think it's safe to say he's been one of the most impressive players over the course of those 2 games. So what's impressed you about him coming through? And did you know anything about him previously?
No, you took the words out of my mouth. For me, he has been the most impressive, what I've seen of what I expect a defensive midfielder to contribute to the team. And yes, I did know about him, but I didn't say a lot of pain. I knew he was playing for Frosinone on loan from Juventus last season. So I monitored the Serie A quite closely for other players. But yeah, it wasn't a standout. You know, he wasn't a sort of player when we see him play that you think, well, he might suit Aston Villa or he might suit the Premier League. He wasn't. But I think, to be honest, when we've seen him, we've now seen what they want from him, He is the Kamara replacement in this team if Kamara is not fit. I don't think there's any question about that. I think he can quite happily play on his own in that DM role if you're looking at a 4-1-4-1, for example. And I think they're looking at that. I think that was the position that he's not really a box-to-box. He doesn't really score many goals or anything like that. I think that is his role. His role is to screen that back four.
Yeah, and physically as well, he's quite tall, 6'1", 6'2" as well. So fits that profile, gets about the pitch. What I've been really impressed with him, and we'll get his bar chart up, but I've been impressed by how he wants to get on the ball. And look, I do accept it's in a friendly game against teams that are lower ranked opposition, but he's playing in a team that he doesn't know the players. So you've still got to want to get on the ball and want to kind of show what you can do and be prepared to make those mistakes. And yeah, I've been impressed with that part of his game. So he shows that he's not frightened to be the main man in midfield when he's in amongst some big name players.
Yeah, sometimes you've got to separate sort of the players that are already at the club and the new players who've come into the club in pre-season games, because the newer players will try to impress just that little bit more. Fitness given, obviously, but they will tend to, sort of try and impress that little bit more. I was really impressed with his passing, and I'm the same as you. He got on the ball. He was able to play long. He was able to play short. He played through the lines really well. I think he will get better. And I think he's quite, like you said, the height is quite deceptive, because on the pitch, he doesn't look that tall, but yet sort of like you can see him sort of, he is. And yeah, I think his passing game, and that is his game, is to break up, similar to Kamara. It's the same sort of profile. Break up play, give and go, pass the ball, let's move on, and just screen, like I say.
Yeah, you can see there the shooting and the goals probably not his thing, but
that is his
the
role,
other
Rich.
bit,
You can see
yeah,
that is what he is there for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And his radar there. You've said it. Looking at it again, ball recoveries, passes completed, progressive passes is all there.
Yeah, this is on the central midfielder sort of. We could have done a DM template, but I decided to do the central midfield because we just didn't know quite again where he was going to play. But yeah, again, the bottom left is sort of signals to us that he's a good defensive midfield. Look at those ball recoveries, by the way. This is for Frosinone. This is the team who were having to defend quite a bit, so that could be a little bit inflated. But even so, it shows he's got that skill set there, and the passes as well. Look at those passes into the final third. That indicates he can probably play through the lines really well, as I've said. And the passing is progressive. progressive as well. So you want a progressive passer from that, not just sort of like a Dougie Will sort of going sort of laterally across the pitch. You want players to look forward from that position.
Yeah, yeah. And I guess the other player that's come from Juventus has been a little bit more quiet, I would say, in terms of the pre-season games, but has shown a couple of little flashes. Sam Ealing Jr. We'll have a look at his bar chart, but what are we expecting from him? He's played in that kind of left-hand side attacking formation. Like you said, we've changed formation a few times and played three, and he's maybe been the attacking one out of the three on that left. Bit of rotation of positions as well. But yeah, what are we expecting from him? Because here you've said he's fullback, but he hasn't really played at fullback yet.
No, he's kind of played with a wing back, hasn't he? So Juventus always play with a back three usually, and you know, sort of with a wing back system, and that is his role. It's kind of a tricky one to assess, really, because even though that says sort of like he played a lot of minutes, he only actually sort of played 9 90s. So he was mainly used as a substitute. So again, these numbers are kind of slightly inflated a little bit because of that sort of small sample size. But yeah, again, they've seen enough in his athleticism, another aerial threat, able to defend the box in the air really well. And I think that's what they're trying to do. He will create, he can create from that position, and he can cross the ball fairly well. So it's almost another one is depending on where he's going to fit in and into what system.
Yeah, signs I've seen he wants to get on the ball again, like you've said, that wanting to impress, maybe been a little bit over keen and maybe just needs to relax in some of those more attacking areas and just take stock and make the decision at the right time. But all that will come, and I'm sure Unai Emery will be expressing that on him. But you know, signs are positive. Again, I keep saying it fits the profile perfectly of what he wants in that player. He's got first team experience. He's got European experience. He's got experience at a big club. He just needs a bit of refinement, and I'm sure that we'll see a player emerge out of it. So 100%, I'm still, you know, very, very pleased that we've got him. And those two players, particularly the Juventus lads, can be real wild cards, I feel, because not many people know too much about them as such. Obviously, they would have been scouted and that, but you get my point. You know, they're not necessarily the highest profile of the left wing backs or the left backs that everyone's talk about, or the defensive midfielders that everyone's talk about, but their stats and their profile fits what we need.
And that sums up player recruitment almost quite perfectly. That's what you're looking to do. And, you know, from a club perspective, you're looking for value. You know, are they going to provide you with value longer term? And you probably say, based on 2 preseason games, that these two look pretty good. So, yeah, it just depends how much. I think Baranchel will get more game time than what Ealing Jr. will for starters. I just think it depends how it goes. Ealing Jr. might be the preferred option in European games.
Yeah. Now, quick little, before we finish up, obviously a quick little focus on the other 2 players that we've signed. One that has featured in pre-season is Ross Barkley. Again, I've been impressed with, I mean, he's always had that ability on the ball. He's like, you watch him in the training videos, and there's certain players that when you've been in coaching and stuff like that, which I have, not to that level, obviously, but you know, when you see a player who is just natural on the ball, both footed, can control it and pass it with any part of the foot. And Ross Barkley just embodies that, and he just looks like the ball's just an extension to his foot, basically. You just want that mentality there. That's probably what's been the frustrating thing about Ross Barkley over his career. Now, you know, again, the last 2 games, I think he's been very good. I think you know what you're going to get with him, that ability on the ball, just that able to control the game and be able to pass the ball and just make the right decision at the right time. So yeah, your thoughts, okay, again, quickly. We focused on him a couple of months ago, but thoughts on Ross Barkley in terms of how he might integrate into this team?
Yeah, my only worry is that, you know, the way playing for Luton is very different to playing for Aston Villa in the Champions League, and it's a bit of another level up almost, really. No disrespect to Luton, of course, but yeah, that was my only worry. But again, for me, value for money, that's what a lot of this comes down to in recruitment-wise, but a bit sort of sad to say it, really. But I think essentially he will be that one. I'm not sure. Again, it's where he fits in. Does he play? I base a lot of what I'm thinking about sort of if Kamara is playing. So he will maybe play alongside sort of to the right. If they're going to play a three, it will be Onana, Kamara and Barkley in midfield, for example. Or will he play instead of Onana? I don't know. But yeah, essentially, I think he's grown up a little bit. It looks like he's come of age a little bit. I'm not sure he'll play as much as what he thinks he will. I'm not sure. But yeah, I mean, for value for money, you can't knock it really.
Yeah, yeah, and you say the strengths, the ball carrying, as I've said before, key passing, long range shooting, which could be a good asset. Aerial ability again. We talk about the profile of a player. I think he's 6'1", 6'2" again. And yeah, you know, we know all about him. We know what he's about, and hopefully, yeah, he can be an important player. Whether, like you say, whether he plays every week or not, whether he plays at key times or certain games or certain minutes in games, then I'm sure he will understand his role within the team. That
Yeah.
comes with that experience that he's got.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I agree. I'm not saying I didn't think he was a poor signing. I was quite surprised at it. And it took me a little while for me to get my head around that at 30 years old as well to try. But I think he's, like I say, a very good squad player.
Yeah, yeah. And finally, Ian Matson, he's returned to the club, joined the club officially, and met his teammates. I think the same day as maybe Amadou Onana did, because he was on international duty. Got called early from his holiday, and then didn't play a minute for Holland, which I don't know how happy he was about that. But a real shrewd signing. You focused on him, as I say, in our last transfer talk special, said that he would be a real asset to our squad. We got him. He can play right side. He can play left side. He can make that extra man into midfield. Can be comfortable with the ball. Yeah, just your thoughts on what you think Ian Matson can bring to the side.
Yeah, for me, this ranks alongside the Onana signing. That's how important I think he will be. I think this is a top signing. To get him from a Champions League final side and he decides to come back to England and play for Villa, there's no comparison there, but I think it's a really important signing, positional wise as well. And again, value for money, a proven Holland international, it's important, and I think that was a position we really needed to focus on as well. Because, like I say, I listed him on the radar as a right back. He's not; he can play left or right, and I think we've seen both. So important, really important, again for the squad as well.
Yeah, yeah, and you're saying their strengths: passing, key passing, ball carrying. What's SCA and GCA?
Shot creating actions.
Ah, okay, okay, excellent, excellent. And goal creating actions, I'd say
Yeah,
GCA is
yeah.
then. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, all those point to a really creative and inventive player.
A very attack-minded fullback, yeah, and I think to get forward, support play really well. And like I say, he mainly played. I listed it as the right back. It's wrong. It should be a left back. It's autocorrect. But I mean, it's
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, it's important that you get an attack. I think that's what he likes to play with his fullbacks high, like he did with Luca Digne. So again, you're going to be playing a lot of competitions. You're going to be playing in different. I think he will be mainly maybe the first choice left back, especially in Europe. I think.
yeah, yeah. So just in closing, noticing there, I think Philogene 22, Onana 22, I think he's nearly 23, Matson 22, and in junior 22, Branachea 23, I think. There's only Ross Barkley there who's 30. I mean, that does point to a young, exciting, vibrant, fresh squad, sprinkled in with some experience. You know, Ollie Watkins, John McGinn, Ross Barkley, as I mentioned, Emi Martinez. How excited are you for the season? And we're not stopped with potential signings either.
No, exactly. No, I think, and that's one of the main sort of criteria for recruitment teams and managers, especially. They love a young squad. The lower the average age of your squad, the better you are happy with as managers. And I think it's brilliant. I think like you say, the mix is really, really good. I think it's important to get sort of Kamara back. I really do think that is important. I think Buendia and Ramsey to play as well, I think is important. Tyrone Mings, I'm a little bit unsure about. I'm really not sure about that. I'm not sure how he sort of comes back into it. But yeah, we should be looking sort of for doing quite well. But we've all been here before, haven't we? We all think we're going to smash it, and then things can go horribly wrong. But for me, I just hope we do sort of well in Europe as well. I know the league's the bread and butter, and he'll want to stay in the Champions League, but I'd like to give it a good run in Europe, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Well, look, we've got all that to be excited about, all that to come. plenty more Talking Tactics shows as well. Champions League Talking Tactics, Gareth. I mean, that is an exciting prospect.
Yeah.
Where can people find you on X?
You can find me at Analyst GC or at that Garate JC, whichever you fancy.
Perfect, perfect. Well, look, we'll be back very, very soon with, I'm sure, more signings to talk about, and the season will be fast approaching. We may even do a couple of Talking Tactics shows on some of the bigger pre-season games, just once we get an idea of what the first team 11 and first team squad is looking like. But yeah, Gareth, thank you very much for your time for tonight. Much appreciated, mate. Everyone, thank you for watching, and please do hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 4,500 subs, well on the way to 5K. So you can help us get there. Like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts down below. We'll be back with Fans Forum tonight as well. So please do join us for that. Or if you're watching afterwards, catch that show. It's like we're going back to the future here. But yeah, thank you everyone for watching. Plenty more shows coming up this week. As always, remember, we all follow the Villa.